It was well past midnight, the kind of hour when the world feels unusually quiet and heavy. I'd spent hours restlessly shifting under the covers, my mind refusing to settle, until I finally gave up and slipped out of bed to get a simple glass of water. As I padded softly into the living room, I noticed the soft glow of the television still flickering across the walls, a small reminder of why things felt so unsettled lately. Just a short while ago, my brother Casey had reached out, in a moment of desperation, asking if Paul could come stay with me for a bit. The heartbreaking news about what Paul had gone through hit me hard. His wife, the woman he'd poured years of love, trust, and dedication into, had betrayed him in the most painful way possible, shattering his entire world without warning. He was left stunned, heartbroken, and completely lost. Casey's own son was also caught up in the emotional storm, struggling to process everything. Jessica, please, Casey had pleaded over the phone, his voice cracking with worry. "You really need some calm, some stability right now. Just a little peace." I didn't know Paul all that intimately. We'd crossed paths at family gatherings over the years, but I could clearly see how deeply the betrayal had wounded him. Our family had already faced more than its share of hardships and heartbreaking losses, and this felt like yet another cruel twist. 7 years earlier, I myself had lost my beloved husband, Jacob. I was around 60 at the time. One ordinary day, we were excitedly planning the final touches on our dream home, a beautiful place we hoped to grow old in together, maybe within the next year or so. Then, in an instant, a sudden heart attack took him away forever. Everything stopped. My world flipped upside down, and I've carried that deep, aching emptiness inside me ever since. Loneliness had become my constant shadow, growing heavier with each passing season. Lately, though, the weight felt almost unbearable, and that particular night stood out as one of the loneliest yet. So, are you ready to step into this story with me? Because this isn't your everyday tale. It wanders into the hazy boundaries where emotions blur together, where quiet chaos swirls beneath the surface, and where unspoken confessions quietly beg to be heard. Every little moment might stir something unexpected inside you. You didn't even know were buried there, quietly challenging the boundaries you once thought were set in stone. If this kind of raw, emotional journey is exactly what you've been craving, then go ahead, lean in, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already, turn on notifications so you never miss an update, and let's walk through it together. Your support genuinely means the world to me. It keeps these stories coming. I moved slowly toward the living room, still half asleep, and just a few steps in, I saw Himple sitting quietly on the couch, completely absorbed in a romantic film playing on the screen. In that moment, my only real concern was making sure he felt even a tiny bit of calm during his stay here. I had no idea that fate had other plans entirely. A chain of small, seemingly innocent events had already started unfolding, and it would take just one tiny step, one single, ordinary moment, to shift everything in ways I could never have predicted. Paul noticed me and looked up gently. "Did I wake you?" he asked, his voice carrying a soft mix of concern and wariness, wrapped in that same quiet longing for some kind of peace that I felt echoing inside myself. I stood there in my simple nightgown, but strangely, the way I was dressed didn't seem to matter at all. The loneliness I'd been carrying for so long suddenly felt sharper, more real than ever before. "No," I answered with a small, gentle smile. "I just came for a glass of water." But honestly, in that exact second, the solitude was overwhelming. I wasn't quite ready to return to the empty bedroom just yet. Maybe spending a few more minutes with Paul, sharing the quiet company, could ease the emptiness of the night even slightly. Watching the rest of the movie side by side might bring back a faint sense of normal life, a tiny spark of hope that peace wasn't completely out of reach. "Come sit," Paul said warmly, patting the empty spot on the couch next to him. "Let's watch it together." The decision felt natural. I craved warmth, closeness, even just a hint of meaning after so many solitary nights, so I eased down beside him. The film continued rolling, the romantic storyline unfolding on screen, but my focus kept drifting. Something unexplainable stirred inside me. Paul's Nanisa, a man I barely knew yet, who now sat so close, felt strangely intense. His voice held a subtle nervousness that stood in sharp contrast to the tender love scenes playing out. As the on-screen couple grew closer, old memories I thought I'd safely tucked away began rising to the surface again. I looked away for a second, distracted, and accidentally brushed my arm against his. A sudden spark of surprise shot through me. I pulled back quickly, mumbling an apology, my cheeks warming with embarrassment as I averted my eyes. Paul paused the moment, then gave a small, reassuring nod. "It's okay," he said softly. "Don't worry about it." But somehow, after that brief contact, the space between us on the couch felt noticeably smaller. The movie kept going, yet nothing felt the same anymore. Neither of us could truly relax into it. The emptiness we each carried seemed to sit right there between us, refusing to let either of us find real comfort. Looking back, I realized that night marked the beginning of something far more layered and complicated than I ever could have imagined. That single, innocent brush of skin was like a quiet signal that everything was about to shift in unexpected directions. The rest of the night unfolded in restless fragments. I eventually excused myself and returned to my room, lying in bed while silence wrapped around me, but sleep refused to come. My mind spun with thoughts I couldn't quite pin down. Tossing and turning, I watched the hours slip toward dawn, the weight of sleeplessness pressing harder with every passing minute. When morning finally arrived, I felt drawn to the old piano in the corner of the living room. For almost 7 years, solitude had been my daily companion. Each new sunrise, I searched desperately for any trace of routine or normalcy. The piano had always been there like a faithful friend, offering a small pocket of peace and gently bringing back memories of Jacob whenever I played. My fingers moved across the keys, hoping the familiar melodies would quiet the lingering unease from the night before. Then, a faint sound from outside interrupted the stillness. A shadow passed by the window pawl, out for an early walk through the quiet streets of town. At first, I didn't notice him return, but soon the front door opened softly, and he stepped inside. I kept playing, lost in the music, until I glanced up and saw him standing there quietly, simply watching me with a calm, appreciative expression. My fingers paused mid-note. That familiar tension rushed back, stronger this time. But Paul just smiled warmly, as though everything in the world felt perfectly right in that instant. "Thank you," he said sincerely, his voice filled with genuine gratitude. "That's honestly the best birthday gift I've ever received." A wave of surprise and quiet excitement washed over me. As he stepped closer, the room seemed to shift, like we'd suddenly entered a different space altogether. "What I mean is," he continued in that calm, honest tone I was beginning to recognize, "just hearing you play, even for a few short minutes, has been the most beautiful thing I've experienced in a very long time. And by the way, I turned 40 today." His words landed softly but powerfully, lighting something warm inside me that I hadn't felt in years. I looked away for a second, trying to process the rush of emotions his compliment had stirred. For the first time in so long, I sensed a real connection, a gentle whisper that perhaps change wasn't impossible after all.